Yes, villagers, we're at an all too familiar place where another black man has lost his life in the custody of police officers. We have 4 recommendations to reform the police department. If you want to know if your recommendation has made it, you are in the right place. If you're new to this channel, welcome to our village. If you're a returning villager, welcome as well. So, let's get into it. Welcome to Garden of the Mind, where we reduce stress, improve our health and fitness, and improve our financial IQ every episode. We must believe more than we see. While protests are simultaneously going on to reaffirm that black lives do matter, another black man has lost his life in Atlanta. Change has to come. While some changes have been made to legislation, it obviously is not enough because we are right back in the very same place that started the protests to begin with. So here are our recommendations to reform the police department. Recommendation number 1, have a crisis team go out, complete with a social worker, to go de-escalate things that are not violent in nature and can be de-escalated with someone besides the police department. There are so many different situations that may be able to be de-escalated with someone outside of police. They might be able to supply a different touch, a different way of coming at a person so that they understand just a little bit. This also gives police an opportunity to respond to some of the more grave situations that involve violence or some other intervention that only they can do. Now, this situation also gives police an opportunity to respond to only the grave situations that are necessary and require police intervention. Now, this situation may give police an opportunity to have more patience when they are dealing with people because they don't have to respond to every single call. Recommendation number 2, change the culture of the police department. Culture in general, between any organization, business, or whatever, is extremely strong, and it's very important that we change that because that frames what is acceptable or not acceptable from individuals with their peers. So it's a different standard when your peers are coming to you and talking about how you are acting outside of the standards of acceptable behavior. If we change the culture to the point where killing in general is completely not acceptable, I think that we'll see a substantial decrease with everything going on. Now, this culture has to change to include police officers so that they are responsible for exactly what other police officers do. In the case of criminals, if one criminal does something, they all get charged for the same offense. There should not be a difference here either. Recommendation number 3, there needs to be greater accountability. Policing is an absolute difficult job, but we do need our police. However, we need our police to be accountable for the actions that they take and the actions that they fail to take, especially when it's leading to the death of several citizens in a particular concentration. Police officers are given a large degree of latitude to do their very difficult job. I completely understand that. However, that latitude is now ending up with a lot of people dying in police custody for most of the time nonviolent offenses or interventions. Now, there are certain words and phrases that carry that long latitude that we were talking about. For example, resisting arrest. What does that mean? Does that mean that a person hit their funny bone and jerked? Or does it mean that the person was violently trying to get away? There is a whole spectrum of different reactions that go into that broad-based and blanketed term that needs exact pinpointing. 4th recommendation, hold police officers accountable for the large discrepancy in their reports from what it is that either their body cams show or another camera that catches that same incident. In many of these situations, there is a huge discrepancy in terms of what the cops reported and what it is that we see on camera. If we were to create a false police report, we would be held accountable for that as citizens. If the police are also creating false police reports, they need to be held at that same standard. Oftentimes when police have these body cameras, it offers something completely different than what it is that we've seen, and that goes completely unaddressed, that their report appears to be falsified, or there's a wide discrepancy in terms of what it is that we've seen and how it is that they've interpreted the situation. Bonus tip, We have to create a standard for the amount of complaints that a police officer uses in terms of excessive force. Now, there are warning signs, but usually these warning signs go largely ignored until they get to a point where we can't ignore them because someone has lost their lives. There's a saying that a leopard doesn't change its spots. If a police officer is reacting with excessive force, either this is the first time or this is one of a string of a process of how he's reacted. These situations need to be scrutinized. We need to have a standard for intervention and possibly removal. In my last video where I talked about how to end systemic racism, I gave a whole history on the police department and black people. Please take a look at it. This situation did not get like this overnight. It comes from a long history. So if we find that the culture is so strong and so resistant to change, then maybe we have to consider disassembling this police department and coming up with something that is reflective of all of the citizens in the United States. Now, we have to remember that police officers are one cog on the wheel. They have bosses who create a large amount of pressure on them to go out and perform, i.e. quotas. So with those quotas, they want to run out and they want to find and meet their quotas in whatever way they possibly can, and the way that's going to give them the least amount of feedback and setback. Sometimes that happens to be in our communities. So this is where the systemic racism starts to come down the pike. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up. If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you want to know when I post, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, please click on that notification bell so you'll be the first one to know exactly what it is that we said here. And remember, thoughts are actions, words have power, and actions have consequences. I'll see you for our Wednesday portion. I'll see you then.